Thank you for coming back after a nice lunch. Very challenging to have a session right after lunch, right? And the food is too good to miss, right? But anyway, I'm going to make this exciting for everybody. So with me, we have very distinguished speakers from Johor, mostly from Johor. I don't know about Professor. He's from Ipoh, but the rest of Johor. I'm from Penang. KL. Oh, okay. But he has made Johor her home. So today's topic is very exciting about property development and medical tourism. As far as today we have the first speaker I want to introduce is Senior Samuel Tan, right? Why is it senior? Is it because you're senior? You're surveyor, so sorry. so surveyor is a professional qualification. He'll be the first to present an overview, right? Overview of the property scenes in Johor, right? And there's a lot of property overhang. We know that it's a big issue for Malaysia, not just Johor. But Johor seems to top the chart, right? Always top in value, top in the number of units unsold, right? But let's face it, right? I'm sure Surveyor Samuel Tan has got some answer, some proposal. How can we change the scenario, right? And I heard that the number of units has gone down. The number of unsold units has gone down recently. The last is I saw the research been done. So maybe senior surveyor can show us and present to us the view. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for the kind introduction. I was quite worried when he said I would be the first speaker because I have to set the tempo, and if the tempo is not good, the whole session will be spoiled. But thank you anyway. It's a tough session because after lunch you can see the delegates has dwindled to about maybe 50%. But those of you who stay behind, I am sure you are serious because you want to know what's happening in the property market in Johor Bahru. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it only to some point form, and later part, there's any questions can ask. Now, what are the factors influencing the Johor property market? There are many points, but basically there are two main reasons why the property market has recovered in Johor Bahru. Number one is the opening of the border, especially with Singapore in April last year, sorry. And with the opening of the border, the people started to come in. It's no longer a pandemic, but it's an endemic. You see tonight, this morning, there's not many people wearing masks because we are used to it, right? Even if we had COVID, it is just like having a fever. In 3 days or 4 days, you'll be recovered. And then the second reason is because of the political stability. After the G15, at least for myself, and I believe for many of you, we saw many investors coming in. In my case, I saw many from China who came in, right? Those of you whom I work with will know that it's not just one or two of them, but many of them who came in. And the industrial sector became one of the best performing sectors in Johor Bahru. We saw more infrastructure. RTS, many people say it's a game changer. This is only one of them. Yeah? We also saw the IIBD, which is Ibrahim International Business Center. We have now the Iskandar BRT. We don't exactly know what's happening now because after launching it, things became quiet. What I understand is probably because of funding from the federal government. When our Prime Minister went to Beijing a couple of months back, he signed a MOU worth about 170 billion. You know, out of this, more than 50% are actually from Johor. So isn't that something wonderful? And yeah, I think we deserve a clap. And many of these are actually my clients. But they are demanding investors. They want all the incentive. I'll tell you how challenging things are. And Johor or Malaysia exports about 70% of our GDP. Singapore is about 100 over. China, about 20 over percent. So when you see this trade war, actually it's a wrong strategy by the US. China does not depend on export to survive and strive, because their export is only 20 over percent. They actually depend on local market, the domestic market, and they can survive. But Malaysia, because our total is about 71%, we must be export orientated. Now, Stephen, if I'm short of time, you let me know. Then what are the challenges that we face? When I gave a briefing to one Singapore link company, a big one, the CEO only asked me 2 questions. Number one is security. If I have my factory in Malaysia, JB, how secure? Because they will report about robberies and pickpocketing, and so they were afraid. I told her, Madam Cheong, I said, I've been in JB for about 30 years. I've never been pickpocketed even once. I only lost 2 garden sets because at that time, iron was very expensive. But since then, I changed my garden set into marble, and it's too heavy for them to carry. So that's the problem. So human resources was the first question. Security was the first question. The second question was a bit tougher. He asked about human resources, whether JB can provide the human capital needed for the various industry coming to JB. Now, if you want to educate a person to be skillful in the market, it is not an overnight affair. It takes years after years, and they may not be able to do what you want. On that later. The second point on challenges is the competition. I want to share something that is happening just a couple of months ago. In fact, just last month. I brought in a university from UK, one of the top 10, and they were given 2 choices. One is Indonesia, second is Johor Bahru. Indonesia was prepared to give them a 30 years tax-free, and they were prepared to pay all the expenses, including the feasibility study, which is worth about 200,000 to 400,000. Malaysia can give them about 10% at 10 years, and they have to pay their feasibility study. They've been a venture capitalist, were not prepared to pay anything. But eventually, we managed to get them over and get them committed to invest in Iskandar. And this is really a milestone for us. So we were hoping to sign the MOU sometime end of July or early August. So the competition from the neighboring country, ASEAN country, is a real challenge that we must face, because we have problems that they don't have, but we also have advantages that they do not have. The third challenges that we encounter in JB is the high cost of doing business. We are all facing inflation, but in Johor, we have an unusual situation where we face a higher cost of doing business. Now, Johoran will say that we have a language, it's the bird language, and this is only spoken by the Singaporean. It's called cheap, cheap, cheap. Everywhere they go, it's cheap, cheap, cheap. And the businessman will ask, are you a Singaporean? I mean, if you're selling something, why ask about the nationality? Perhaps it's because if you're Singaporean, I can sell you a little bit higher than the local. I'm not sure. So we are seeing more data center. We are seeing petrochemical. I'm working on two very major petrochemical plants in Pengarang and more electronic company, although our ecosystem is not as good as in Penang. Let me go to the final point on the opportunity. Johor offer you some advantages. Among them would be the legal framework. Our legal framework patterned after the Commonwealth country. Our land laws is actually is following the Australian torrent system. All right, and this makes the whole legal system so easy to understand and to be followed. Secondly is our weather. I just came back from London. They said London got 4 seasons in the day. You must go out with your jacket, with umbrella. But in Malaysia, no, it's only 2 seasons, raining or hot, all right? In Australia, you have fine weather, but I dare not go to Australia during summer because it's 41 degrees, it's very humid. We have also very good infrastructure. And really, at the end of the day, the wealth creation for any place is actually infrastructure. I'll give you an example. When the highway to Legoland was not built, about 30, 40 years ago, and was worth only $1 per square foot. And I was looking for those land, but because I was just a graduate, I find it difficult to buy. At the peak, those land was worth 300 per square foot. Sometimes I just go myself. If only I have half an acre, I would be so rich today. So infrastructure is very important, and languages. Now, those investors who are from China find Malaysia very comfortable because we speak Mandarin and we speak many dialects. Malaysians are very sought after because we are not just one language, 2 languages, we are multilingual people, including dialects. And very important point, I did a survey among the Singaporeans. I said, what is one factor that will cause you to come and invest in Malaysia? Can anybody answer? Just one factor. I don't know whether Kiss I will give a prize or not. One factor. Think it. Just cuba-cuba lah. Now it's my session. It starts with F. Food. It's food. And we know it's like a sibling rivalry. The Singaporeans say the chicken rice come from them, and we say chicken rice come from Malaysia. But indeed, if you try the chicken rice in Singapore and Malaysia, sorry for Singaporean, we beat you anytime. Right, so that is the 5th point. And recently, in the last budget, the Prime Minister announced that there will be a financial hub in Johor Bahru. We still do not know the detail, but you likely be in Iskandar Puteri or Coronation Square. If they can make it into a financial hub, I believe many financial center banks will relocate at least the back office to JB. Recently, there was also an announcement about Singapore and Johor Bahru having a special bilateral tie, excluding the Indonesian. And I think this is a very good concept where we just concentrate on 2 countries. And finally, I just want to say this. Whenever you mention Iskandar Malaysia to the bank, your loan will probably be rejected, right? Because I think it's been overused. There's a need to rebrand and to recalibrate Iskandar Malaysia. I don't know how this can be done, But if you can do it, I think for the next 10, 20 years, Johor Bahru will soar to another height. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel, for the wonderful overview of Johor property development. You missed the opportunity to make a lot of money from 1 ringgit to 300 ringgit, right? Like in Penang, Batu Kawan was 50 cents per square foot, and now it's 60 ringgit per square foot, right? So having know a lot of deal flows, you are the property consultant, you should have more opportunity to look at the deal flow, right? What are the things, auctioning, property. So I hope you will get your another chance to make a lot of money in property, right? Next round. So next one, I'm gonna turn over to Lindy Tan, right? Lindy Tan is a very young girl, to me, a very young person, but in the property life for almost 19 years already. She's the ED of DCB Berhad, on stock exchange. But she's also the vice chairman of the REDA, the Real Estate Developers Association, right? Which is a very important industry association that's very friendly with the government, right? So maybe I'll get Lindy to share from her perspective, from the local developers' perspective, right? What is the scene in Johor, please?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And also, I need to thank Samuel for waking everyone up after the lunch session. So I will go straight to the developer's point of view for these questions. First questions asked if you refer back to the folder for this session, is actually the trends for property development. What has it been changed post-COVID? I think one thing that all of us in this room will agree is that for the past 10 years, digitalization has been the big thing. But then what COVID has done, it has expedited the process. The growth of digitalization in the first 8 years of last decade hasn't been as much as the last 2 years during the pandemic. I think we all noticed that. And what has it caused changes to property development is, especially for the case of Johor, is this morning, Yang Berhad Menteri Besar told us we have got 3 ports in Johor. Johor is very strategically located, and therefore the growth of e-commerce has also spurred this. In the past 3 years during the pandemic, industrial is the only sector growing despite the COVID-19 pandemic. So that being a very, very important factor to note, especially those doing development. And therefore, with that also, this morning we heard about Johor Fast Lane. What is Johor Fast Lane? It's actually being launched this year. Johor Fast Lane was an initiative by the local council, beginning with Kulai Fast Lane. And why Kulai? Because Kulai is an area with a lot of data center. So I think a lot of us in the industry heard a lot about data center coming to Malaysia, and they chose Johor Bahru being the location, specifically into Kulai of Johor. So to expedite the process of approvals and all, so Johor Fast Lane was first, Kulai Fast Lane was first rolled up, followed by also Johor Bahru Fast Lane, this year by MBJB. So we were also briefed about this. REDA was briefed about this earlier this year as well. So you can see the potential of industrial due to e-commerce. So there are a lot of warehousing needed. There are a lot of industrial lots needed, distribution center needed. Other than that, we also notice changes in residential sector as well. In terms of residential for Johor, if it's in Iskandar, Malaysia, I think properties, especially landed one, within a price range of 500,000 to $1 million is still very much in demand. We got a lot of developers here. If you are priced within that range, more or less you are quite safe, I can say. So other than that, then if we go to commercial development-wise, we do see changes in pattern in the way people spend, or the retail industry has changed a lot post-COVID. So those new developments, especially if it's in commercial sectors, they need to factor in having a hybrid kind of design. What are the unique selling points? You cannot be selling or designing the same kind of commercial products before COVID and after COVID. What COVID has taught us is digitalization. Apart from having an online platform, I think it's important to connect the online and offline. So having online and offline, if you can incorporate that into your commercial development, I think it will make a lot of difference. So high-rise potential in Johor Bahru, if it's in the city center of Johor Bahru where the land is very scarce, if you're coming from KL, it's similar to like KL area, city center area, you don't have the luxury of having a lot of land in the city area. So the potential for high-rise development will be towards mixed development, I can say, where they can combine residential, commercial, retail spaces under one roof will be becoming very popular, especially similar to what Samuel has shared with us just now. We got RTS coming, we got a lot of mega infrastructure development coming up in Johor Bahru. So this will bring in a lot of growth to Johor Bahru city center. Next is to talk about how to overcome property overhang. Like you said, right? Johor Bahru always top the chart, fortunately or unfortunately. We've been always first in terms of overhang property. So how to overcome? I don't have the answer to it. It's $1 million questions. But I can share some experience how to better handle this situation. It's developers-wise, we have to change our perspective. All the while, we've been thinking developers we are businessmen, right? We rarely see ourselves as professionals. I think in the next era, developers have to start seeing ourselves as a professionals. Why? 2 reasons. In terms of better to serve the customers in a very competitive world, we need to see ourselves as service provider. So in terms of decision making and product development, I think we need to have better research. So we need to rely a lot on data, on analysis before we decide what sort of product to develop, what sort of product to design for. So that's why we can align our project to better market needs. So I would say first point, very important point, rely on reliable sources of data such as NAPIC, such as Dawson, even before we embark into any development. Secondly would be better collaboration with financial institutions, very important for us. There are a lot of time we do have buyers, but then they are having difficulties having their loan being approved. So if developers can collaborate better with financial institutions to come up with flexible payment schemes, or we can see a lot of developers now, they have tied up with banks to provide attractive mortgage loan percentage, then that will help. Thirdly is government support is very important. Just like during the COVID 2 year, our government has given us HOC, Home Ownership Campaign, which actually give a lot of stamp duty exemptions to the home buyer, and developers giving additional discount on top of that. So that leads to a lot of sales. It helped a lot. In 2023, this year, in June, there was an announcement, right? Also to have stamp duty waiver for property below 500,000, full waiver, between 500,000 to $1 million, 75%. That will also help developers to overcome these overhang situations. Apart from that, I would say it's actually a pricing strategy and the better use of digital tools. Like I say, you have to rely on big data, rely on digitalization to be able to target into our segment, our potential buyer more specifically, more effectively. That will also help. Lastly, it's actually industrial collaboration. Like what we are doing today, where we are sitting today, we've got a lot of industry experts here. So it's a good collaboration. Also, like what our moderator has also introduced me just now, apart from radar, under the initiative of our Menteri Besar, actually since this year, the Johor professional bodies related to the construction industries were asked to get together and then collaborate. And therefore, in this 2023 January this year, we formed a platform called Dato Plus, which means DE means developer, C means consultants and contractors. So we are being put into one platform, and 31st of January, we enter into MOU signing with four city councils of Johor Bahru, including MBJB, Johor Bahru, MBIP, Iskandar Puteri, Kulai, and also Pasir Gudang, to actually provide a better review, better survey, and also feedback to our councils when they're into streamlining all this, compliance. A lot of time we face these difficulties, like you go to different councils, different district, then you have a different sets of rules. So Johor, I think they would like to streamline this part, especially in these 4 councils, which is very good effort. So regularly we'll meet up with people of this industry. So like in the case of BJB, we were briefed about the implementation of Johor Bahru Safe City, Low Carbon City, and also JB Selamat, Johor Bahru Bersih, and Johor Bahru Low Carbon Sustainability. So in reviewing this, all of us were asked to give feedbacks on the implementation. Let's say like, having EV charging at your new commercial developments, things like that. So engineers, consultants, developers were asked to give their feedback before implementation. I believe this is a very, very good initiative, and therefore we can avoid a lot of trial and error. Not to say we can avoid fully, but we can reduce this situation as much as possible. That is the collaboration that I mentioned, which will help us better handle the overhang situation. Next, I'll talk about the challenges in property industry. For the past 3 years, it's been very challenging for property developers in Malaysia, especially in Johor Bahru, because we are a border city. So we were impacted the most by closure of the borders. And we were the last to recover, unfortunately, in Johor Bahru. So we are facing a lot of uncertainties, economic uncertainties, global uncertainties, and the changing of consumer sentiment, consumer behavior is actually affecting the investor confidence into Johor Bahru. Other than that, it will be infrastructure development. Johor itself, not to always just focus on Johor Bahru City Centre, we are 3 times the size of Singapore. That's why in terms of infrastructure-wise, the availability of quality infrastructure to many parts of Johor Bahru until now is still a challenge. So that part is very important. It will require a lot of investments, collaboration to address these gaps. We may have RTS. So after having RTS into the Johor Bahru City Centre, what happened next? Which is a case of the gap that IMBRT is supposed to fill in, right? To connect Johor Bahru from that point horizontally to other parts of Johor Bahru. Even if after having IMBRT, what's next? How to connect other areas of, let's say like Iskandar Puteri to other parts of Johor? That will remain a challenge for Johor. Next, I think is regulatory and bureaucratic process. I think one of our speakers, many speakers today has mentioned that many times, that the time we take to process anything, that is very important. No matter how cheap you are, how close you are to Singapore, if you take very long for anything to be processed, I think that's one factor that will actually deter our investor from coming into Johor Bahru. Then ESG being a very big thing, very important topic of last year, even this year, I think in Johor, environmental sustainability issue will be an important factor to look at for developers, because it's very hard to strive for a good balance between, we always say, between sustainability and profitability. We cannot say we can't have both. It's no longer an option. It's where you strive your balance. So it is an important point to think about for Johor developer. And lastly, I'll say the biggest challenge for all of us here is talent and skilled workforce. So with that, I'll end my sharing. Thank you.
How do we overcome the property overhang in Johor Bahru, right? I went to visit last night Country Garden, right? The rental there is 1,000 plus ringgit. For a wonderful condominium, you can get 1,200 ringgit for a Country Garden, in the prime area, right? And there's a lot of mama shop there as well. And so a lot of things has changed, right? We need to recover from this crisis, right? It's important to know. I used to go to Bukit Indah a lot every week from Singapore, and now it's quite dead. So I had a wonderful dinner at the Eco Botanic, right? Now the new happening place in Johor. So I did some research before I came to Johor to understand a bit of Johor policy. My next speaker is somebody that I know for last 3 years, but still I don't know him at all because he's had such a distinguished credential. Professor Major Dato Dr. Chin Yew Sin, Justice of Peace, right? He has 76 qualifications, which he wrote in the book, How Do I Obtain 76 Qualifications, right? And he has a degree in law, economics, marketing, engineering, you name it, right? He has it all. He's a professor in the top university in China, adjunct professor. He's traveled a lot of countries. So I think from an outsider perspective, maybe Professor can share with us what is your view of Johor property and how can we recover from and medical tourism as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Marisha. Thank you very much, good friend, Thai, for giving me a very good introduction.
He's a human chat GPT.
Okay.
So you can ask you anything.
First thing, I'm not Johorian. I'm a Ipoh Mali guy. Now I'm staying at the KL. Second thing, I'm not involved with tourism. So I don't know why, Tansi Michael, you asked me to talk about tourism. Must be a mistake. My friend is involved with tourism, Mangga Travel. So you can check with her. So maybe he want to ask me to talk about this topic because he want somebody to think out of the box. You see? Yeah. Because I'm not a Johorian, I'm not involved with tourism. Maybe I can give some different perspective to tourism. What this Johor government or Johor state can do to get more people to come to visit Johor. I think Johor is a very good place. They got everything, no. So only thing you must know how to package it. So I just focus on tourism because the topic is so big. You talk about property and tourism, you got no time. So I talk about tourism. Actually, I feel that Johor is a one state that can have everything in tourism. First thing, you talk about there are few key success factors for Johor's state government to get more tourists to Johor. First thing, you got the physical tourism. What do you mean by physical? I talk about natural tourism first. Natural tourism, because Johor is a state, is a very what I call lucky state, endowed with everything. So you talk about natural tourism, you have this the Salo Beach. That is very natural. It's a God-given place. Then you have so many islands. Johor got so many beautiful islands. You got the Pulau Besar, you got Pulau Tengah, you got Pulau Pemangkil. Then you got Pulau Tioman, it's very famous one. Then you got so many other Pulau Dayang, Pulau Penang also have, no? Then the Pulau, the Pineapple also have. Then the Pulau Kukuk near to Singapore one. So many islands, this sort of place. I mean, for tourists, you just go for natural kind of tourism. You can attract many people. This is the first part. I will call the natural tourism. Use the nature to attract tourists to come to Johor. Second thing, you have the physical tourism. What do you mean by physical tourism? Physical, that means you use the infrastructure to attract tourists to come to Johor. Then Johor, you got the Legoland. That is a very good theme park. You can attract different segments of the tourists to come to Johor. So that's why I say Johor is very good. It got so many things, but you must know how to package it. So this is the what I call the natural one. Then you got one place called the Menara Jelen. You go up there, you can see the whole view of Johor. They also want a good infrastructure to attract tourists who come to this what I call this Johor. Then you got the Tangga Bay. This one. Then you got the what I call the Forest City. This one also good places for people to visit. I've been to this what I call Forest City there. It's a very nice place. It's a man-made island, see? So there are many things that you can see there. So you talk about second thing is physical tourism. The third thing is about what? Third thing is about cultural tourism. I would say culture is the soul of tourism. Without culture, just like a body without a soul. Physical tourism is something like a body, but without a soul. But cultural tourism is something that you have soul. Because people normally visit certain places, you can remember the thing for many, many years. You must have a cultural content inside it. If not, after you sightseeing, go back, then after 1-2 years, you forget what sort of places you have been there. So I think cultural is very important. That's why, in fact, in Johor there's so many cultural aspects also. So you can like this, I'm not Johorian, that's why I say there's one place called the Tan Hiak Ni Heritage Street. So I managed to talk to Lindy just now to get some news about, I haven't been there, but I know about this place. So this place is a very heritage, full of cultural content. So people like to visit these sort of places so that they would remember the place better. So another one, more important one, is called experiential tourism. What do you mean by experiential tourism? That means you experience the thing, then you can remember for the rest of your life. Just like in Johor there, you teach people how to make delicious foods like the what? Asam petas. I think Dato Jennifer will like it. Then you have the Johor laksa. Then you teach them, the tourists, how to cook this Johor laksa, Johor the nasi amping. Then you got Johor what I call the nasi biryani kam. This one, then you got a mee rebus. Then you got roast duck. All these things, and then the kacang poo, all these things. People, you teach them how to make it, then they will remember very well. Then you teach them how to make batik lah, how to teach them how to dance joget lah, how to dance lion dance, all these things. Then the people can remember better because when you experience something, you can remember the thing very well. That's why this is called the experiential tourism. So that you can really go to a certain place and you will learn something. Then the fifth thing, not yet, still got time, is it? Okay, the fifth thing is about ecotourism. Ecotourism is something like you go to the forest. I say Johor is very lucky. There are so many forests. You got so many national parks like the Entau Lombing National Park. You got the Tanjung Pia National Park. You can see all the mangroves there, the swampy land, all these things. You can see the birds. So many things you can see there. Then you got the Pulai waterfall, all these things. So many places to go. That's why you must properly package it and arrange it. So I'm not Johorian, I'm not tourist guy, but at least I know how to capture the information, put in the proper place, then you can know how to attract people to visit these sort of places. So that's why I say ecotourism. Then you got the rainforest tree resort, and this Pulai there. There's also a place many foreigners, especially from Western countries, they like all these forest one. To us, forest is nothing, but to them, they really like it one, because they seldom see the sun, and then see the forest there. So that's why they like these sort of places. So another thing, the ecotourism, number 5. Number 6 is the what? We call this homestay tourism. In Johor, there also got so many homestay tourism. You got the Atam homestay, what I call this Johor Bahru. Then you got the so many other places like My Sekamat homestay. Then you got the Yongping homestay. So many places you can go there and visit. So many, every state also you have. They have to cut short already. And then another thing is the educational tourism. Educational tourism in Johor there are 2 top universities. Here you got this UTM, University Technology Malaysia, is one of my so many universities one of the university I studied before. Then you have this Tun Hussein University. They're very, very good place. There's one place called this Iskandar A2 city. That one you got so many foreign university branches there. You got this what I call Newcastle University Medicine Malaysia. Then you got the Marlborough College Malaysia, Marlborough, from USA. Then you got the Netherlands Marine Institute of Technology. Then you have this what called University of Reading, Malaysia campus. Then you have University of South Anthem, Malaysia campus. There's so many. And then Malaysia one, you got UUM, University Multimedia, Johor. And then you got another one called Rifles University, Iskandar. So you got 7 top university there. That's why you can attract many students to study here. After you study, then you can go for tour also. This is called a study and tour. Huh? So another thing, the last one we will talk about is the medical tourism. This is very important for Johor because Johor, they target to get 100,000 these tourists to come to Johor. I think Malaysia is famous for health screening treatment. This Thailand is very famous for plastic surgery. And Singapore is very famous for oncology, diagnosis and treatment. Malaysia have to sort of go up the value chain. They have to go for more for like oncology, diagnosis and treatment because they want can earn more money. Because if you go for the health screening and medical checkup, you cannot earn much. I think Johor, they really have to go up the medical, because Johor also got 7 very large private university, this hospital and 40 medical center. I think Johor can be, because in KL, talk about medical tourism, Johor, this in KL, there's one Grand Eagle, they are number 4 in the world. No, Singapore is number 5th in the world. That's why Malaysia actually can become the medical, especially for Indonesia. They can attract many these Indonesians to come to Johor to seek treatment because very near. You just go by ferry. Time up already. Can I talk something about how to attract more tourists to very fast? I'll just give the points. First thing, they have to go for online, promote how to attract people to come to this Johor. You have to use online, what I call promotion. First thing. Second thing, you have to promote the local attraction. Just like I mentioned, so many things. Then you have to promote then the local events. Then the number 4 is you must have festivals. Johor is lucky enough, got 3 very famous festivals. You got Johor Majestic Festival, you got Johor International Food Festival, then you got the Johor, what I call the Nusantara Music Festival. This sort of thing you can attract many people to come here. Then number 5 is you have to sort of give discount to certain events like this sort of festival, so you attract more people. Then you have to keep the map, better maps and the directives so that people can go to your place easier. Another thing also about you must show them the calendar online so that which date you got this sort of events or festival, all these things. So all these things you can attract more people to come to Johor. I think run out of time already.
Okay.
So got 3 more points cannot cover. Okay,
I think the next one is the human chat GPT, right? So next one is just nice that we are going to move to Sister K McNaught, right? I watched her video before I slept last night. I watched a video online, right? So I saw her in person talking about mental wellness and medical tourism. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce her to share with us.
Thank you. I'm going to stand up.
Yeah.
I know I've been told I've only got 8 minutes, but I've been doing this for 20 years. I try my very best, but if I haven't covered it, just ask me questions later. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Would you believe me if I say that medical tourism industry forecast for 2026 is to be 179.6 billion US dollars. That's what it's worth, okay? And in Malaysia alone, by 2028, MSTC has come up with projected value of US 5.1 billion US dollars. So as you can see, medical tourism is growing and growing. What it is not exclusive to any one country or one state. Anybody, everybody can do this. But how good will you be? You need to have a strategic thinking, how to promote, how to attract, and this will involve quite a lot of cooperation, smart partnership between service provider, the consumer, the travelers from all over the countries, all over the world, and you need the role of facilitators. They are very important, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think that because you have your hospital and you have the patient, that is medical tourism. Because most people think medical tourism is about patient flying from another country to your country, have the treatment, and they say goodbye. It's not it. It is more complex than that. Because, number one, when a patient, a traveler wants to go and have a treatment done, she must discover first, what is it that she's lacking? Is she looking, or is he, I'll call she, it's easier, because we have more to be done for the female than male, you know? The whole body, you can do lots. Thank you. Anyway, first is the procedure. Or if the patient, the traveler, doesn't know what procedure she needs, she can always say, oh, hello, my face is drooping. What do I need? Then they Google on the internet. And then they see YouTube saying, you need facelift, you need this, you need that. So what you feed on the internet is very important. How you feed it, where you do it. And these are all available worldwide. So if you put wrong information, they're going to get wrong information. Now, medical tourism is not just about doing surgery. It is also about people wanting to go and improve their wellness, especially after COVID. When they have been so cooped up, you know, for years, they really want to go, and then they discover they are not that healthy. So prevention of the illness is very important here. And for those who've been suffering from COVID, there is this long-term COVID effect. So this has created a new treatment plan for them. So it could be stem cell therapy to speed up the enhancement of the regeneration of your cells. And then, of course, there's depression. Nurses in UK and everywhere else, they are seeing death for the last 2 years. They got so depressed that they quit the job. So they want to travel and, you know, get rid of their depression. So here again, not only the surgery, it's also for the wellness, depression, and another thing else. I have been speaking to my psychotherapist, not mine, I mean in our group, and I asked her, what has COVID done that affect the family lives? They say it's the children. They have been cooped up for 2 years and they are not used to not being able to play, and this will form like a PTSD, the future. So we look at the future. Mental wellness is another area of the medical tourism industry that we should look at. Now, that's one thing aside. So what are the procedures that's available in Malaysia? Well, I myself, I specialize in cosmetic surgery because you see, I got to look good. And I work with very good top plastic surgeon. He's very good. And also, we are looking then into bariatric surgery because a lot of us Asians, we're getting fat. I mean, we eat, we got good food. But the funny thing is, Malaysians don't think they're fat, but Australians do. They come to Malaysia to have bariatric surgery. So we have like 300 over patients for the last 3 years before COVID to have their gastric sleeve here in Malaysia. Now, when they come here, of course, you know, like plastic surgery, they stay about at least minimum 14 days. 14 days, ladies and gentlemen, they need to stay at hotel. Unfortunately, we Malaysian, the minute you talk about hotels, they say, oh, because they are medical tourists, let's give them 5-star hotels. But that's not so. I would rather they spend a lot of money on the treatment, which can benefit the hospitals, medical center, but not hotels, huh? Because hotel doesn't provide the staff to look after them post-surgery. What happens if they bleed in the room? Who is going to monitor? Who is going to report them? There is no doctors on site. There's no clinic. So what we have seen the trend is a service apartment. Service apartment has been mushrooming. Why? Because facilitators like us, we will visit them post-surgery. We will make sure they are okay. We will take them to visit the doctors on follow-up. So hotels, 5-star, are losing to these people. When I first started, I was told by my plastic surgeon, oh, this patient is having a facelift, Sister K. Send to the Garden, 5 stars. I said, Dr. Yap, if I am so wealthy, I mean, I'm talking about if I'm Australian, I'm wealthy, why should I come to Malaysia and have it done here? The very wealthy won't come here unless they want to hide something from the wife and have it done here or from the husband. So what I noticed the trend has been, I have Australians, they are not the very rich, the very top. They are the middle class. They are the dog groomers. Why? Because in Australia, when they want to do surgery, yes, they get free medical, but not plastic surgery, not bariatric surgery. Only certain amount if they are covered by insurance. They find that, yes, they can get the same price in Australia, but they don't get the very top surgeon. They are not treated well, there is no good follow-up. So when they come here, they can brag. They might be from Melbourne. They come here and say, oh, you know, I went to Kuala Lumpur, the top surgeon, fantastic nursing care. I was treated like VIP. So and the follow-up is good. Even when we got home, that's for follow-up. So with that, the business grow. They will say, oh yeah, we'll go to Sister K. You know, she'll arrange everything. So hence, I became the facilitator. What do I have to do? Okay, I'm talking this because I'm not going to teach you how to promote medical tourism in Johor. I just want you to hear the reality of how I deal with situation. So when they contacted me, I would say, okay, what are you looking for? I don't know. You know, I think my face is sagging here and there. I said, okay, send me the picture. When they send me the picture, I would go to the surgeon that I have interviewed. I have verified this is a surgeon suitable for facelift procedure. Which hospital? We had an agreement with hospital as a smart partner. I get remunerated for, when I say I, it's my team, so it's easier for me. So then I will send the patient the profile of the surgeon, because this is their concern, medical tourists. Who is going to do my surgery? What qualification has doctor got? Where was the doctor's trained? And is the hospital verified? Are they accredited or not? But they're not going to say, or you say, oh yeah, well, when I see the doctor, I will ask the doctor. They won't. If you ask the doctor say, oh, look at my certificate on the wall. I mean, doctor also, they have their own. See, don't ask me all these questions. See, I'm qualified from X, Y, and Z. But we, as facilitators, it is our job to inform them nicely. We are not going to say bad things about bad things, you know. So we're going to say, okay, a very delicate way about the process, the procedure, and then how much. We have to tell them how much in advance. We got to be transparent with them with the pricing. Even the costing, the total costing. Sometimes the hospitals, what they do, they add. This is a package. Well, later on they add and add and add, and that is not good. And I also noticed the hospitals sometimes say, oh, local this price, Australian this price, Indonesian this price. And then when they publish it online, they say, oh, come to Malaysia, it's 50% cheaper. But what they did, they got the price for the local. When they arrived, they said to me, when they contacted me, they said, oh, but yeah, but they publish it's very cheap. You see, that's not transparent pricing. Anyway, what are the facilitators' roles? So you know why most medical tourists will go and use the facilitator. When you have facilitator can be an educator. They educate the consumer, create awareness of your service provider, your hospital, what are the procedures, which is the best one. I'm not saying that all the hospital has all the same, they all have the same procedure, but not all of them are best. You must promote what is your best and your good price, and your, excuse me. Can I have a bit of water? Also excited, you see. I'm so passionate about this, that's why. Huh? Sorry. I'll continue. So, the medical facilitators, we are educators. We educate, create wellness of the destination as well. Johor, maybe Johor Bahru, Malacca, Muar, or whatever. The facilities we are representing, whether they have the high tech, whether they have robotic, all that. And then the medical service provider must be good, and the positional treatment. Number two, we are planners. We plan, we match the consumer with the proper service provider. We then work hand in hand with hotels or service apartment. We will book for them. For that, I will rush it through. Okay, I'm sorry. And then we also become the patient advocate. Why I do say this? Because it's wonderful if everything goes fine. It's not perfect. It's human body. When you do surgery, things might go wrong. So you've got to be prepared to handle the crisis. You've got to be able to handle the crisis without losing the credibility of your industry. Because I have come across this, and I come up, roses, and they still bring patients to me. And lastly, you have to manage the patient from A to Z. Now, how do you attract? You need to attract medical tourism from international. Number one, have a strong digital presence, like, most of us have been talking this morning. And not only you need a strong medical presence, but it's got to be interactive. It's got to be patient-friendly. I mean, all nowadays people thought, well, patient can Google and they get that. But people like us, at my age, I want to do surgery. I don't have time. I don't understand all of this, And number two, make it easy for a patient to find. You must have one center that is promoting, a portal that promoting medical tourism. It must be coordinated. Everybody must be together. And then make it affordable. Make it affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Kay, for sharing her thoughts. Mr. Chairman, can you please don't raise the price of US dollar? I saw that there was announced that Malaysian hotels are too cheap. They want to have two different rates for locals, ringgit, and for the foreigners is the US dollar. So that's not fair, right? So anyway, but he has transformed. He worked many years in Singapore, Orchid Country Club, and he has also transformed himself from a GM of the largest golf resort in Malaysia, Tanjung Putri Golf Resort. Now he's currently holding a position of director of Millicent Hotel into medical tourism. Is it medical tourism into health wellness center, right? So please, Ivan Teo, can you please share with us your current endeavors, sir?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think you're a bit sleepy, and some of them playing with your handphones. So I think I better walk around, also make myself more alert. So very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivan. I've been in Johor for a while. Also in Singapore for a long time. So, who wants to own a hotel? You like to be a hotelier? You all play Monopoly or not? Is it during my time? I'm still not very old. Monopoly always have the green building, right? After you have the green building, 3 green building, you can collect a hotel. So the hotel is something very glamour, right? Because very good, you are a hotelier. But the truth is, when you buy a hotel, it's very, very easy. But you want to maintain it and run it profitable, it's very challenging. That's why we have hotel school. It's not so simple as buying a hotel, you can operate yourself. It's something very, very technical. We have many, many different departments to make it success. So, if you want to have a hotel, all right, not only you are facing a lot of challenge internally, you also have to face a lot of challenge externally. So why you want to become a hotelier? Why you want to own a hotel? I was once a developer as well. What's the difference between a developer and a hotel? as a developer, you have to keep hunting for new land bank. So if you can't find a good land bank, you cannot develop, then no money coming in. But if you have a hotel, you run it well, every month, cling, money keep coming in. So is Johor Bahru a good place to invest hotel? You know about Airbnb? You know Johor Bahru got how many empty condos and apartments? And we are facing this problem. Of course, when COVID come, we are the first got affected and last to recover. And even now, most of the hotels are still recovering. We are not all up and like used to be in the 2019. We need time. But I'm very sure hoteliers, we are survival. Why is it during COVID time, we are the first industry can open up? Do you know why? Because we are the first industry that can actually write a SOP to submit to the national government to actually approve it. We create the SOP, and so we can actually start to have guests coming in during COVID time with strict SOP. Now, hoteliers also work very closely with Johor Tourism. In fact, I was once the chairman for Johor Tourism Association. Because since I'm the last speaker, I better cut my story short. Okay. What I need to share with you is this. When I was first appointed as the chairman, elected as a chairman for this Malaysia Association of Hotel in Johor chapter, we had one big problem. A hotel don't know B hotel. B hotel don't know C hotel. So they are running in silo. So I only have one very simple job. Very simple only. Let's have high tea. Let's put our head down. Everyone come together. Used to be, we always have a meeting. The chairman will talk. Then you all listen. I find this formula doesn't work. As entrepreneurs, as leaders, we don't like to be told what to do, right? So we don't like to actually attend meeting. But when you say there is a gathering, there's some place for you to drink, some good food for you to eat, what happened? They come. So what happened after they come? They network. So network, there's communication, right? And then what happened? They break the ice. Then they start to mingle, and then ideas keep coming. When ideas keep coming, then there's a lot of ideas, and that's not what the MB say. If you only think and you don't action, daydreaming. So the GMs will actually gather with ideas, and then later go back to the office, let the staff execute it. And so I'm proud to say now our Johor, you know how many hotels, how many rooms we have? In whole Malaysia, used to be, Johor Bahru only got 6 hotels. Used to be. Now, we are the number 2 in whole Malaysia, behind KL. Now, can you tell me how many rooms we have? We have 18,800 of rooms in whole Johor. And with 90 members on our association. 90 members, 90, whole Johor. That exclude the budget hotel. My association only take care of 3 and 4 and 5 star. The rest, I'm not involved. But we work very closely because we are one. And we also work very closely with Johor Tourism. And we also work very closely with Malaysia Tourism. So this is how I believe when you all say that we have a problem, we don't have talent, we don't have manpower. Tan Sri, ladies and gentlemen, your problem is all the same. If I go to Singapore, they tell me the same thing. If I go to the US, also have the same thing. They have manpower, they have talent problem. But I feel that we short of 2 things we can work on. One is leadership. We need strong leaders to gel people up. And second, survival, innovation. I'm sad to say some of our hotels, like I just shared with some of my colleagues, 100 years ago, a hotel, and 100 years from now, the hotel look the same, right? Huh? Everything changed. But I believe three things don't change. Hospital don't change, classroom don't change, hotel also don't change. So we have a problem. So we have to innovate. Last time used to be, when I was a young boy, I go to hotel, I see the swimming pool, wow. But now I bring my daughter to the hotel, they see the swimming pool, got network, Wi-Fi or not. They are not interested with all this. So we have to innovate. That's why Minisimi Hotel changed to Medic Hotel. So we'll be the first in the state to actually convert a hotel to a Medic Hotel. We need to keep up with the trends. And also because our location is next to Columbia Hospital. So it makes sense, you know. So I believe hotel their business will keep improving. And with the blessing of ringgit going 3.4 to Sing, I believe that there's a lot of tourists coming up. Coming in. So, but please don't jump in the wagon. Don't tell me tomorrow you want to buy a hotel and start the business. It's not so simple. Do your own FS, physics studies, and you think that this is your cup of tea, join the association, mingle with the hoteliers, let you know the good and the bad. But at the end of the day, today, bring back two things with you: good leadership, strong leadership, and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan, for the wonderful sharing about the hotel industry and how it transformed with innovation. So we don't have time left. I was told by the organizer to close the session. Thank you for all the panelists. I think the last word is leadership, right? With the right leadership under the YAB, 33-year-old YAB, the youngest Menteri in the history of Malaysia, probably. We're hopeful that Johor, with all the potential, all the talent pool here, right? I see all the talented people in Johor. I'm quite sure Johor can achieve its potential if you just execute what your vision objectives are. With this, I thank all the panelists and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you to the